Thanks very much. I'm sure everyone on this stage would say that the BNP are bad, and it is very sad that we do have to talk about them. They would like to scaremonger you into believing that they're much closer to a European seat in the Northwest than they are. But you, not us, because we'll bang on about the BNP and we'll say that you shouldn't do it. It's you who can make it, and not just by writing letters to your newspapers. Go and get 5 of your friends to sign up to vote. Get them out there and make sure that they do not vote for the BNP, because there is no way that these people should be allowed the time of day, let alone a European seat.
Just before we come into the other candidates, are there any questions on that? Okay, first, that lady over there, then. Sorry, that lady over there, and then that gentleman there. Thank you.
I'm an ethnic minority woman who will probably be voting Conservative at the next election. Do you not think it's a bit politically immature and also seriously undermining the threat of the BNP to compare them to the Conservative government?
Yeah, this is more a general question on the EU as well. Do you believe in free and open debate, that everyone should always get a chance to talk and get their views out first? Or do you believe also in European levels that we should ban people from giving out their views when we don't believe in and agree with them?
Okay, just, Alex, you might need to shot on the first question.
Yes, it certainly is a cheap shot to compare us to the BNP, but nonetheless it's something a number of Labour MPs have done, unfortunately, in the media, and I don't think it's if you put the Conservative Party to one side. What it has done is highlight the BNP yet again, and that's the real danger. I very much agree that we should promote our own agenda, that we shouldn't bang on about the BNP too much. Certainly, if you look in recent opinion polls that have been done for the European elections, the BNP, in one was trading at 2%, I think in another at 4%. And if that were reflected across all the regions, then fortunately they wouldn't get a seat. So they don't seem to be rising in the polls as we stand at the moment, but we shouldn't be complacent. I think that the big issue in this election is turnout and apathy, because under the D'Hondt system of PR, which is the one that we have to elect the MEPs, if the supporters of the major parties don't come out and vote, stay at home because of the expenses scandal or for whatever reason, because it's raining, whatever, that means the number of votes that the BNP require just to get one in is all the more lower. So I think it's our duty as major parties, and it's include the Green Party and UKIP in that comment, to actually go out there and enthuse the voters and make sure they go out and turn out. And in simply doing that, turning out and voting for one of the non-BNP parties, they will make it all the more harder for Nick Griffin to be elected as a member of the European Parliament. But fundamentally, I don't think we should go on banging on about don't vote BNP, don't vote BNP, don't vote BNP, because that does, unfortunately, motivate a few people who are rather cynical at the moment and want to send a message. So focus on our own policy agenda for the time being.
I think your question is really interesting. First of all, I don't think any of us really know what the most effective way of combating the BNP is. Do you simply try and ignore them, or do you fight them aggressively? But in which case, maybe you're talking them up. And I'm conscious of the degree to which newspapers at the moment seem to be talking up the BNP in order to give something to write about other than expenses. I do think we at the BNP, I think that the BNP amongst its supporters, well, there's a lot of racists. And if people are racist and they want a racist party, they have the BNP. But there are also some people who vote for them who are taken in by simple, cheap slogans. And I think those need to be exposed. And the true nature of the party has to be revealed just in order to ensure that people aren't tricked into voting for them. But you ask another question, which is about, if you really like, sharing platforms, and to what extent do we stand up for people's freedom to speak, even if we don't like what they say. And we've had a difficulty of that in the European Parliament just now. Because it could well be that, under the rules of the European Parliament, the opening of the new Parliament after the elections is normally chaired by the oldest member of the Parliament. It's just a formality. Take the chair, open the ballot open the ballot boxes in order for a president to be elected for the next 2.5 years. But the oldest person in the parliament after the elections could well be Jean-Marie Le Pen, the leader of the Front National, who will be 80. And so the Parliament has just voted to change the rules to say it'll be the previous president who will chair the session. I voted against that change. I mean, it's legitimate, but it's somehow squalid. It goes against what we should be doing. It's changing the rules just to stop someone being in that chair for that brief moment. I don't like that. But take the issue. I don't know what you're doing, colleagues, on sharing platforms with the BNP. I've been asked to sign a pact saying I will not share a platform with the BNP. I won't sign a pact. I won't deny them the right to speak, but I'm making it clear as a matter of personal choice that I would rather sit next to a steaming pile of dog turd at a meeting than sit next to one of them. They would lock me up if they got into power. And frankly, I'd be lucky to just to be locked up. I don't want to sit next to them.
Okay, I'm going to move on from the BNP question, and we're going to go to a question from Gabriel Hassan. He's just walked out, right? Oh well, this is 15 minutes. Lovely, thanks for that. While we're contemplating that, his question is, what specific measures would the candidates take to reduce the influence of big business on European policy? And he's talking specifically about the third run rate at Heathrow and the near doubling of the oil gas industry lobbying to kill or water down the farmers' new energy policy. His words, not mine. Ruth, do you want to go first?
Okay, what measures would we take? I think we need more transparency about who's lobbying for what. And I think it is about moving power from the Directorate Generals and from the Commission back to the European Parliament. And I think we need to give more opportunities to other groups to be able to engage with the European Parliament. So I really think it's about where power sits within the EU. And I think, as a general principle, what we'd be looking at is changing the way that the EU works so that more local economic principles were promoted. I think those are the key things that we'd be looking at.
Just pass it along.
Okay. How do we get transparency in the EU about how the EU's relationships are with money streams? Well, has anybody been out in town and seen these guys with tabards saying, give me £2 a month? Sort of overly cheerful people who say, hi, do we donate to my charity? And they sort of follow you. You try to avoid eye contact, but they follow you anyway. Well, it managed to learn the EU actually funds a lot of those charities very significantly. These charities may count like they wouldn't survive without your £2 a month. The EU funds them. And I think you've got to ask questions about the political neutrality then. You look at a lot of professional associations. Some of them get EU funding. You look at churches. There are Catholic charities that actually get EU funding. Nothing is sacred to these people. The EU wants to control everything financially. So what I'm saying is true. And so what I'm saying is that if we are going to stop, if we're going to have a bit of honesty and transparency here, we need to know who the EU is funding, because if you pay the piper, you call the tune.